Hello, everyone. This is Junia Doan's The Spark, and I'm Junia Doan. The date today is May 1st, 2020. Together with other people, we are self-sheltering. For me, it's been about 6 weeks, and the governor last night said it would be another month through May 28th. What we are trying to do is bend the curve of the transmission of this disease called Wuhan virus COVID-19. I thought it would be interesting to talk to people who have had a hand in making our lives better during this unique period in American history. Today, I'm going to speak with James Mahoney. He's co-owner of Linked Technologies, and he is also self-sheltering. Welcome, Jim. Jim, thank you so very much for appearing, and I'm really glad to welcome you to the program. Tell me in detail, what is your business? What is Linked Technologies?
Well, thank you, Junia. I appreciate you giving me the time this morning and so forth. Linked Technologies, we started the company, Chris and I, back in 1997. And at that time, we were doing just basic computer repair, and networking and so forth was starting to become more prevalent, where you were connecting computers together instead of just having a single computer, a single user. And then we kind of grew that business into what it is more like today, where you have cloud computing, where people are able to access applications in the cloud. And then we also have like a more of a hosting environment where we have here at our office, where the applications reside here. And then people log into our data center and they access their applications. So this can be done remotely from anywhere that they have internet connection, and it's offered to them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And what we do is we provide the hardware base for the memory, the CPU, the internet connections, the redundancy for all of their storage, so they can have access to that. And if there's any kind of an issue that comes up, we do have like a dual connection for our internet service. So you'd have 2 fiber connections. So if we lose one, we can switch you over automatically to a second one, so your access is continuing on, even if there's an interruption on one of the internet connections. So it makes it very easy. And then you see everybody kind of looking and talking a little bit about this Office 365, where you have your Word application, your Excel, your PowerPoint, your SharePoint programs and so forth, plus your mail services, Exchange services. So like you send an email to somebody, somebody else on the other end receives that. Well, now we're putting people into the cloud for that. So anywhere that you are in the world and so forth, you can have access to your applications, your email. Whether your location loses internet connection, you can still connect to it on your phone and still receive your email. And
You can or cannot do it on your phone.
Pardon me?
You can or cannot do it on the phone.
You can. So
Fabulous.
The thing is, like if you lost internet connection at your home and at your office, and you went outside and you connected to, let me say, a hotspot, or if you went home and you had internet service there, you could access your mail there. So you're not dependent on your single location or location at work. Now you can be mobile for any of these types of things. So if you're sitting in the airport or anywhere, but even poolside, and you want to have access to your applications, or if you want to have access to your mail services, you will get those automatically as long as you have some type of internet connection. So
Not to worry.
Yeah, I would say that our probably our niche market would be more on that 5 to 35, 40 computers. But we do have a number of larger customers that range up into the 500 that we support, whether it's remotely, coming on site for services, or whether they're accessing their applications here in our data center. So when we're looking at a whole here, not only the state of Michigan, but California, Ohio.
Really? How did they ever find you?
Well, what happens is a lot of times organizations that we work with get bought out by bigger companies, and then they spread out. So then we take over their new locations because they want to continue on with our support services. And the way technology works today, it's easy to be able to put a remote client sitting out on those desktops and servers, and then we can remote into those, and we can also get information, feedback from the health of those systems, whether it's patching, security, how the hard drives are doing, those type of things. We're able to do that very easily with those clients and get the feedback from them, and then we can just support them going forward and resolve problems for them that way.
Interesting. So how has your business changed as a result of the sequestration, the 6 weeks we've been at home?
It's been very interesting because once we got into that, there was a number of people that were working remote. Now it's really expanded out there. So when that first came about, people were contacting us and figuring out what equipment we were going to be able to get. So we went out and sequestered like laptops, additional licensing so they could access their workstations at their office. And then we would get their equipment in, and then we would assemble that equipment for them, set up how they want to connect remotely into their office. And then we would either they'd come by and pick that up, or we would drop it off, or we would ship it to them. And then they would get connected to the internet, and then we would be able to load our client on there and then assemble everything else they need for access. And then kind of do the same type of thing we're doing here, where we could walk them through there if they had any questions. And then as they were working along, there would always be a few things that they wouldn't have access to. So we'd go out either this way through video, or log on to their computers and just set them up for their additional needs. So it's been a learning process for everybody, because you never know when you're away, actually what you're going to have access to.
So basically, are you saying it's similar to what you were doing before, but not quite? You're shipping the equipment to them, and presumably they can do the basics of getting on the internet and so
Right.
forth. Then
Just get
the
them
rest
connected.
of it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then they just pick up the phone, and we can either walk them through. Once we get the client loaded on there, then we can kind of set up everything they need to do. So whether it's 2 monitors, their printer they need access to, is there any other applications they need access to? So we can walk them through that process for them.
Is there a privacy concern at all anywhere in this from their point of view?
When we use called virtual private networking, and we're using like global VPN clients and so forth, so it's secured from at their location to where they're connecting to. So that's encrypted and so forth on that part. So that's real safe for them to use. So that connection, so people shouldn't have to be worried about that. And then realistically, they're connecting to their own PC at their office, and they're using their own login credentials like you would if you were logging into your office. And then you get access to those applications and what you see normally when you're sitting there. So it's basically, I'm sitting here, I'm doing all my work as if I was sitting in that office. And so you're securely connecting to your server that's there, just as if you were sitting there.
So you offer backup service too, if something malfunctions 24/7?
That's correct. So if
It's always 2 a.m., Sunday morning, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways of doing that, where you have some file folders that you'd like to have backed up off your site. So we set up so that we can automatically back up that information, the data that you have stored on there, and put that out into a cloud-based resource. And then that cloud-based resource is also segmented into another location. So just in case there was a failure here, we have a secondary source for that. And so then if you need to have a file restored, we were able to grab those revisions that you have that you're stored in the cloud and pass those along so that yourself or your staff would have access to those again.
Is there a supply chain issue with original equipment, the TV monitors and this and that, just because so many people are in their homes now and need to have an office environment? Is there a delay? I mean, in my life, I'm not ordering TVs, but everything is delayed that I order, big and small.
So at the beginning, when this all hit and so forth, there was quite a bit of inventory that was out in the supply chain that we were able to get. But as we moved into this further and people realized that they're going to have to, this is going to continue on for a longer period of time, they're going to need to set up some type of remote work. So computers, laptops, monitors, those types of things slowly went very fast. I mean, they were there, you might have 100 that morning, and in a couple hours, they're all gone. So what we were suggesting to clients and so forth, if we're going to move forward with this, we just need to get them now and get them on order, because it could be weeks before if the inventory continues to fall away, because you're talking about people all over the world needing to have access remotely. So they're buying up equipment, not just from the United States, but from all over the world, and be able to accommodate and keep their staff and their businesses running.
Interesting times, and I just noticed, no one knows. So any kind of prediction is either going to be right or wrong or something. But anyway, the current people this morning said, it may be longer than we think, and into fall and this and that. So you might be in this auxiliary business, so to speak. That may be really a growth opportunity for you. Well, because you have the experience, right, of doing it.
And one of the things is that when this hit us and so forth, we decided that we're going to take half the staff, have them work from home, and the other staff will come in here, and we can social distance, and we have our offices and so forth, so we can do all that here, and that's worked out really well. And as we have been able to perfect that, supporting our customers remotely is something we're probably going to continue on looking at, not having everybody here all the time. And we know that we can support our clients even if our workers are working from home. We still have all the capabilities that we need, as if that person was sitting right here, dealing with somebody on the phone, dealing with someone on the computers, or those type of things, or even handling emails back and forth. We can do all that. And it's worked out really well. So we've been kind of rotating that for the last month or so, and that's worked out well.
Are your programs or their programs set up to do architectural drawing or any kind of design work? Is that an issue in terms of memory capacity, Wi-Fi, or any of those issues?
Well, always going to be, I guess the biggest thing from remotely would be dealing with the internet, making sure that you have a solid internet connection and it's not dropping. The other thing is, we talked about a little bit earlier, is, so say some of our customers deal with designing a building or designing some type of a layout for electrical or something like that. When they're connecting, they usually have a larger screen monitor. And as I mentioned before, they're connecting directly securely to their workstation, logging in as if they were sitting there, and then gaining access to their drawings and so forth. And then just the small amount of information needs to come across the internet in order for them to bring up a full diagram of what they can see on their screen as if they were sitting in their office. And they can do all the same work.
Do you see a market in virtual care and people having whatever to show the doctor in telemedicine, their throat or whatever, their tooth, or is that just not an issue?
That's all new to me. I have not tried any of those services at this point in time. From what I'm hearing, it seems to be working well for them. I don't know specifically, all the things that the doctor would be looking for, but the technology is there. The visual, like you can see me, a little bit of lighting and so forth, but you can see me very well. You can see my teeth, you can see my eyes, you can see all those type of things. So, or if you had a bruise or something was happening, the doctor would be able to assess that pretty good with this high resolution monitors and so forth they have today. So I think
I meant is on the service side, not so much how the doctor would do it, but you might have to have a certain kind of a phone or a certain kind of a program or a certain kind of stuff. And that's fine and easy for you and easy for people who love the latest in tech, but may not be easy for a person who says, just fix it, just make it work. I don't want to know anything and I can't understand what they're saying anyway.
I think that's going to be a hurdle for some people to get through, because one, as people get older and so forth like that, as far as their technology knowledge, as people from my age and so forth get older who are used to using technology, I think it's going to be easier for them to adapt. But you're right, it is a learning curve for not only the docs but also the end user. because it's a scary time for people to leave, especially if you have some kind of underlying condition. You want to be able to feel safe. So if they can do it from their home and make it easy for people, I think people will gravitate towards that as well.
I just feel that you are in such a good business that has opportunities blossoming now that may not have been there before. I mean, I had a light stain, less driving. I mean, there's certain advantages, you know. So maybe we'll do a blend. But one of the things I picked up in yesterday's interview, you know, why can't you take an iPad and let's say hospital owned and keep disinfecting it, but take it from patient to patient to patient so they can talk to people who are currently not allowed in the hospital because we're all in this lockdown.
Right. My understanding is right now, they have the capabilities of doing that currently. And a lot of the stuff they use at the hospital now is all done by computers. Everything that's entered in, all the things that those patients need, anything that's provided to them is all done by a computer. And all that information can be brought up on whether it's an iPad or a Surface or something the doctor would be carrying around, would have access to it as long as they had Wi-Fi connection. It would be just the same as if you were hardwired into your network. You could do that over the Wi-Fi and be able to get all that information as well.
On another subject, there's rumbling that 5G may not be good for people, something to do with the electromagnetic, how it goes into you, and the 4G and 3G doesn't. Have you any background on that? Can you comment at all? Do you read about that, know about that?
I don't have the expertise and so forth to be able to answer any questions on that particular part. So I'm only hearing what probably the same as you have. I haven't really sat down with the text and so forth to see what we would be looking at here or on our phones or something like that going forward. So I don't want to speak on something so I don't make a mistake as to my limited knowledge on that at this point in time. But I know that we're looking at those type of things for future technologies for the business. But right now I don't have a good answer to that for you.
Do you have an opinion in a home? Should it be Wi-Fi be hardwired or not hardwired?
Right. We set up a number of people now, especially with people working from home, where they can, with their wireless connections, with certain type of devices that we put out throughout their homes, they can do not just the computer stuff, but if you want to look at running stuff like drapes, curtains, those type of things to let in light and stuff like that, your doors, your garage door, all these type of things you can connect, and lighting, you can all run off of one computer. As long as the Wi-Fi is connected up properly, and we've done this for a number of homes, and it's worked out well, you can control everything from a panel. And I think,
how do you see electronics changing in the next year or so? Are there, things happening you'd like to see or not like to see?
I don't know, the thing about it is like nowadays, so when we're talking about people that put in computers that they're using now, they are about 5 by 5 inches, 5 by 4 inches in size. That's all they're big. They're only like this big. And they sit on the very back side of your monitor. So
they fit where?
They sit right on the back side of your monitor. So you don't see any of your computer, the CPU at all anymore. It's just a really small box. And there's just a couple wires connected to it. So it's gotten to be the point where I think the technology and so forth is you're not going to see these big, large computers and things like that anymore. You're going to see larger monitors for people to work on. But the computer itself and the resources you need have come down to just a small box about this big. And especially for organizations that don't need a whole lot of web applications, a lot of stuff that's just running off what they call RDP to a server. You don't need a lot of stuff that's in there. So it works really well. I see technology more going in that direction than these larger CPUs that people are buying. Laptops will continue to get smaller and lightweight as people will start using those as more of their permanent devices instead of having an office computer like a workstation anymore. It's going to be more mobile, like your phone.
So I like to channel surf if I turn on the TV, and I was always sort of mooning when I go to a movie and some executive has, several TVs, all, and they're all on a different station and stuff like that. Do you see anything in the future where I could just say switch to channels, so I don't have to get the remote and voice activated?
I think that technology is already here. I don't know how perfected it is and so forth, but voice activation and so forth has been around for a little bit. I don't have any experience with utilizing that, but I know that technology does exist.
At home, do you, this is more personal question, if you don't mind, seeing you're doing tech and intellectual things all day, how do you relax? Or do you have limits on what you watch or don't watch, or the phone, or business, private? How has it worked out for you?
Well, I would say that my thing is I don't utilize a lot of stuff on the computer at home once I'm there. I like to do some interaction with my family. I always try to check my phone and so forth on a consistent basis to see if there's any things out there that I need to address. But I have a number of people in our company and so forth that are handling support needs and things like that. So I just want to kind of address anything that I might need to assist them with. But as far as I try to get away from it, I'd like to go out and play golf. I like to go to the gym and work out. Those type of things that give me an opportunity to just unwind and not think about, constantly what I need to do tomorrow or what I still need to do today. So just give me a little bit of a break from that. But you're right, technology during the day is a primary focus, and it's nice just to kind of set that aside for a little bit each day.
How do you think children who are coming up, 6, 8, whatever, coming up in this kind of a tech world, what should their parents, or what did you do in teaching your children about tech and limits and opportunities?
Well, when we originally, with the computers and so forth, we set up limitations as to the amount of time they could spend on it. And as things got, as the last 5 or 6 years of all this chat stuff and all this video gaming and so forth like that, you need to look at the amount of time that they're spending on that. It's a little bit more difficult now because, I'm here. My wife is an RN at the hospital, so she's a little bit away too. So we've set up some guidelines and so forth. But with kids being away from school, it's a little bit more of a difficult challenge. But I think we've given them enough information to kind of guide them along. So they're still able to do some of their gaming stuff and still spend time with their friends. But at the same token, this online schooling and so forth is becoming more and more of a focus on them each and every day.
So I'm using myself as sort of a guinea pig, and I find out there's something addictive about following the emails or going to the websites or stuff like that. It's this alternate universe. And I'm trying to ask myself, do I bring a different part of myself when I'm there? Is it recreational or inspirational or technical? Or when I'm not and I'm just talking and living and stuff like that. And what I find, because sometimes I do books on tape or try to learn something, if I take a walk and that's in my ear, somehow the leaves, I don't see them as clearly. So the experience is diminished. I make a good use of time, but the experience is diminished because my attention is elsewhere. And so one of the things that I've been learning just about me is, in essence, do one thing at a time. Listen to your books on tape, or walk, or in case you don't care to walk, and for the exposure of nature, then you can listen to. But it's just a different way of living than before, because, of course, when I grew up, none of this is available. When I was very young, I said to because my grandmother grew up before the phone, she grew up before the car, she had a buckboard.
Right.
The toilets and the hot water. Everything was revolutionary. Even the ice box. We had an ice man that came and delivered ice. So I was always asking myself, what are the things that are normal now for children that to me were a novelty or an introduction? And certainly the internet, the phones, I mean, the level of security and invasion are much more advanced in both directions.
Sure.
I remember when I was afraid to drive alone on deserted highways, because what happens if I blow a tire?
Right, right.
Now it's a kind of, you have a little more, a few more options that way. Do you see the business, going back to the business, changing as a result of this experience with this virus and perhaps viruses coming forward?
I think so. I think that what we will be looking at doing is kind of enhancing our abilities to be able to communicate not only with our office people, but with our customers. So something that's a little bit easier to use, a little bit more functional, something that we can do a little bit more with, like this video conferencing built into it. So not only can we fix something, but we can also talk to them, people can see us and so forth. So kind of a more, I would say, a more interactive. And people get to know you, because I think this remote stuff is going to stay for a while. I think people are going to get used to it. I think it's going to be changing in cities and so forth. And we're looking at some of these environmental stuff that people are looking at doing. This saves the environment quite a bit. I mean, you don't have to travel in. I think it's going to change a lot of industries as we go forward.
So this is an off-the-wall question, but what do you think of AI, of robots as companions? I'm just reading that's about to burst on us.
Other than like in the movies and so forth, I don't know. I see where, the robots and so forth doing building things and harsh environments and all those type of things where people don't have to be involved with that. I think it's a great thing. I don't know, looking at all this artificial intelligence, some of those things, some good, some bad. Technology does have some limitations, and sometimes technology is not the best way to go. So we just have to take each step and kind of evaluate that and see how it's going to be, not just for what we can do in the future, but how it's going to interact with the people that we have and the workforce that we have going forward.
Thank you, Jim. This is very edifying. So what I basically learned from you, you have to be on your tippy toes all the time, because technology changes and application change, but the structure doesn't change that much, right? And it gives people more mobility and more access, in a sense, in a more comfortable way. I mean, especially if we're going to be landlocked. So I really, for a while landlocked, but at home. So I really appreciate this because people now have an opportunity to live, again, with more security as a result of your company. And, good for you. And thank you for appearing. And I'll see you around town.
I appreciate your time and, and reaching out to me. I appreciate that very much. You enjoy your weekend and stay safe.